Now, I know photography editing is one of those things that you either love or you hate. Personally, for me, I really love editing photos, but that wasn't always the case. I've definitely learned many things over the years that have kept the process enjoyable for me, but not only that, these things have made me a more confident photographer and a more consistent photographer when it comes to the look and feel of my images. So I want to share with you guys some tips that I've learned and hopefully make the editing process enjoyable for you. So let's jump into the video. So the first tip is to use a reference when you're editing. In Lightroom, there is a button in the bottom left-hand corner down here. You can click on this and this will bring up the reference window arrangement, and you can import a photo that you want as a reference, or it might just be one in your catalog that you've already edited that you want to replicate the style of across your whole catalog. You can just drag your image into this blank space on the left-hand side and that will stay there while you're editing each and every photo. There have been so many times when the color palette, the tones, the style of the images just kind of shifts over the course of editing a catalog, and keeping this reference there really helps to keep everything consistent. Of course, you can sync your settings across all of the photos, but the thing about that is that your white balance from shot to shot is not always the same. Same thing with your exposure. Every photo is essentially different, so you need to treat them differently. And that's where I found that using a reference is much better than syncing settings. Well, sometimes what I'll do is create a collage or a grid of edits that serve as the inspiration or the rough direction in which I want to go. I actually do this almost every year, maybe even twice a year. I create this mood board. It's like this overall guide and style for where I want to go with my photography. I use this grid template in Canva and I found that it works really well. So if you guys do want to do something like this, I'll leave the link to that Canva template in the description below. So one crucial part of the editing process that I think is often overlooked by photographers is curation. And this actually helps in two main ways. The first is that it actually reduces the total amount of time that it takes for you to go through and edit a catalog. And the second is that it makes you more concise and more focused with your work. So on a shoot, you might take 500, 600, sometimes even 1,000 images, and there's just no way that it's sustainable to edit even half that amount of photos. The curation or the culling process is massive for me, and this is the part where I go through and I select the images that are going to make the final edit. So for this, I actually use a free tool called Narrative Select, and what it enables you to do is just drag a folder full of raw files straight in, and it loads almost instantly, gives you those previews. You can flick through at lightning speed and just select the photos that you want to import into Lightroom. And one of the best things about it, if it's a portrait shoot or any shoot with people, it will give you a crop of the faces that are in the photo on the right hand side so that you can check focus and make sure that nobody's blinking in each photo that you want to select. This really helps in a few ways. Probably the most important one is that I have found that the less photos that you have in your Lightroom catalog, usually the quicker and more snappy that it's going to be to make adjustments. And also this process really forces you to be much more decisive with your photography. I've really tried hard to battle with that tendency to pick two photos that are almost the same but just have slight differences. I've really forced myself to be decisive and just pick one of those two options. I almost think of every shoot like I'm going to submit it to a magazine. When you submit images to a magazine, obviously they can't print 20, 30, 40 photos. It's forced me to really only have the goal of delivering like maybe 10 really outstanding images. And when you curate a photo shoot, it turns into a story rather than just a gallery. Narrative Select has been a great tool for me. I'll also leave a link to that down in the description below if you guys want to check it out. I think it can be very easy, especially as a beginner, to go a little bit too far when it comes to stylizing your images. In Lightroom, you have so many different sliders and different directions that you can go. You can boost the clarity, the texture, bring back all the highlight detail, all the shadow detail, but just because those tools are there to use doesn't mean you should. In my opinion, taking a subtle and a natural approach to your edits is always going to be much more classy and clean. Photography, and particularly portrait photography, is all about drawing the viewer's eye to the subject or subjects that you want to show in the photo, and often trying to show all the detail in the photo by bringing back all the highlights, exposing all the shadows, adding way too much texture and clarity can just give the viewer way too much to look at, and it can also result in the photo looking crunchy and quite unnatural. On top of that, if you're shooting photos of people, you can really run into some issues with having nice smooth skin tones, and that's something that is really important when you're trying to create flattering images of people. Also, going too far with your edits can also create some JPEG artifacts, especially when photos are compressed and recompressed. Whether you're uploading a photo that's already been compressed to another website, it's going to be compressed again, and you're more likely to run into these banding and blocking issues. Those 3 tips helped me to enjoy photo editing again. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you got something out of it. If you did, hit the like button down below and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one, and I'll see you guys in the next video.